The headset that I'm wearing is playing this angelic, tranquil sound. It's an open sound, like it's as if I'm outside in an open field and the sun's shining and it's like a beautiful day. If I could give you a picture of what the sound I'm listening to makes me feel like a sound full of hope, a sound full of possibility, a sound of engagement with a moment. It's the sound itself is at 963 megahertz or something like that, and it's a cleansing sound. It's been linked to being a cleansing sound and stuff like this. The headset is a $400 headset, and I got it because of my addiction to a perfect sound. As I said that, there's like these chimes coming in and they're ringing, and if I can let go of the agenda of my thoughts and just feel and be grateful for this moment, then in that moment I access creativity, because I'm living and appreciating and feeling in the moment. I'm not comparing. I'm not wishing to be anywhere else but here in front of this camera with you, for you, to get into the idea of perfection. Perfection versus progress. And I brought up the fact that it's a $400 headset to illustrate the desire, the quest to do something seemingly ludicrous when you're after an objective of, let's say, in this case, that perfect sound. I drink my coffee laced with collagen for that perfect taste, that perfect result, with my 2 milligrams of nicotine gum that I'm chewing for that perfect energy state, with my lip balm that creates like a buzz on my lips for that perfect moisturizer slash feeling of invigoration. I'm giving you insight as to what my central nervous system is experiencing and the things I do to set up a perfect state. This whole time you may have thought I'm simply a man in front of a camera and a backdrop exists that you've seen many of times. And yet, as I broke that down for you, explained to you some of the things that I'm consuming, some of the music that I'm hearing, the cost that I've spent to get these sounds, these feelings on my lips, the maybe great cologne to put myself in a mental state. Much like yourself, you maybe have stories like this where you got certain things to put yourself in these Zen-like states of mind. My name is Jacob Adams. I'm a fitness and leadership coach. I help people just like you get to the next level. Whether it's in the gym, burning body fat, building muscle, getting that personal record, dialing in on your nutrition, your supplementation program, here on YouTube, sharing the perspectives and mindsets that help you get to that next level. Today, I wanted to ask you, have you struggled with a balance of perfection versus progress. Like most people that set out to achieve a goal, we often have to face what was achieved versus what was not achieved and why. We look at the performance measure, we have to recalculate and see, well, what could I have done better? Oftentimes this question of what could I have done better for the high performer, for the person looking to excel, can eat us up. That's been my story. That's been how it felt since forever, dealing with the lack of certain progresses. And sometimes it's in being able to handle the lack of perfection that ultimately allows us to continually make progress. I'll say that again. Oftentimes, how we handle the lack of perfection, that knowledge that we were not perfect, we are not perfect, our progress is not perfect, and the ability to handle that ultimately allows us to continuously make progress. Let's take, for instance, dieting. Dieting is a perfect thing to look at because everybody has to eat. Not everybody has to meditate. Not everybody has to be in a relationship, but everybody has to eat. And what people eat affects what their body does, and it affects their energy. So let's take a look at nutrition. There's been times in my life where I've gone on a bodybuilding stage, and that required looking at every detail of my diet. It required looking at the carbohydrates in, the kind of carbohydrates, the time that those foods were consumed, the quantity of protein, the macros. You get the drift. And there's been times where I did it to win some competition or something like this, and where things were super strict over a 3-month period. And even in those 3-month periods of super strict eating, I had 5 wings. So, based on the primary decision to not have those wings, but within a month or two, I did have the wings, one could say that this, let's say 80-day, 90-day period was imperfect, looking at only nutrition. It's fair, right? If I had said, I'm not going to be eating that, but I do eat that, one could say this was imperfect. And for the sake of discussion, I will say correct. So then, the next question is, but was there progress? And the answer is yes, there was a significant amount of progress. So, we can sometimes beat ourselves up and say, hey, look, I could have done better. I should have done better. Why do I keep messing up? Why can't I get my diet right? Stuff like that. Even as I make this video, there was a phone call that came in. It stopped the music playing, that beautiful music I told you at the beginning. And so is this now an imperfect video? Maybe so, maybe not. But I declined the call. I continue making the video. The music's back on, and here we are. Make sense? So the progress continues, the imperfection exists, and this is life. This is real life. No editing, nothing, just embracing the process that is. And as a trainer that works with people that aren't trainers, that aren't coaches, I could tell you that this is one of the key things that makes people sort of give up and throw in the towel, is the fact that things are imperfect. Like, let's say my friend right now is texting me 5 different texts. I had to silence it. Again, part of me is like, there's a small part of me that's like, okay, like, can we stop with the texting? Like, I'll get to you when I can. So I silenced it. I'm now continuing the video, this imperfect video, which now, based upon the fact that it's about imperfections, and how that isn't the best idea, but to continuously progress, it's actually a great addition because it's unplanned, and you get to see how I handle this lack of perfection. And today when I woke up, I realized that yesterday was not perfect. It could have been perfect, but it wasn't. And so I began to process that, and I said, look, I can't believe this is such a trivial idea, but yeah, I haven't gone into it. I haven't gone into progress versus perfection. So I said, well, let me open that up. Yesterday wasn't perfect. It wasn't a perfect day nutrition-wise, but it was good. It wasn't a perfect day in my relationship, my personal relationships, but it was a good one. It wasn't a great day in my business, but there was growth in it, right? It wasn't a great day in my workouts, but it was a really good one. So things weren't perfect, and yet every area that counts made progress. And I think that is what causes people to quit, is the way they handle the lack of perfection. And yet perfection doesn't exist. Like, it just doesn't. I mean, if you look at, let's say, Jake Cutler, who has won the Mr. Olympia like 8 times. He's admitted to taking anabolic steroids, and then he says, well, I don't recommend anyone else take them. But he himself doesn't eat perfect 100% of the time, and if anyone was going to eat imperfectly, or if anyone was going to eat perfectly all the time, I'd say he's probably as close as it gets to the highest echelon, the highest tier of perfect eating. Like, it's hard to top Jay Cutler. Makes sense? So we now have almost like reference points. Like, only looking at nutrition, it's hard to top Jay Cutler in nutrition. You're probably not going to do it. You watching this video, unless, I mean, even if you were a pro bodybuilder winning Olympias like he was, even you probably couldn't top Jay Cutler. That's how good Jay Cutler eats. Does that make sense? So even with an almost perfect person, perfection does not exist. Does that make you feel better? I hope you're starting to see why this video exists, because if somebody that is almost perfect is still not perfect, and that means that perfection does not exist. If we look at the people that tout perfection, sometimes like fundamentalist, religious zealots, they themselves are not perfect. And that's where this concept of being a hypocrite comes into play, because we see that, wow, so even you are imperfect. Like, I think one of the reasons I'm a good trainer is that I never come across as perfect to my clients, the people I train with. They kind of sense, I think, that I'm very practical in my nutrition. Like, I tell people, go to Jason's Deli and have a manager special, because it's simple to do, it's easy to understand, it's easy to see how it's. I say, don't go crazy on the dressing, which means have some dressing, but the fact that you're getting like 80% of what you need on that one meal, it's hard to top that for any given person. So my strategy with a client oftentimes is let me help them get some wins under their belt, like get some fucking momentum, right? I mean, like this video here, like it could tank, it could get no views, it could get 100 views, it could get 1,000 views. It's not the point. The message is there. It allows me to do the process, to engage in progress, to do the process, engage in progress. There you go. That's the takeaway from this video. That's the big win. If I could tell you anything, there's one thing to walk away from. It's embrace the process, focus on progress, not perfection. If you need another 2 words, embrace the process, focus on progress, not perfection. That's my big overarching takeaway to my training philosophy, to everything. Like, if you look at when I was developing the concept of common self-mastery, it's the daily disciplines that drive consistent results. You know, I have enough videos, for example, where I could do a video with this headset on, and you know, yeah, that 930 some megahertz music is still playing. Still drinking my collagen laced coffee. Embrace the process, focus on progress, not perfection. And that's something that needs to be more of a mantra in today's society, because growing up, you know, and still as adults, we consistently are shown what we're not doing. Like, I was working with a coach recently, and you know, he was consistently telling me what I was not doing, and I personally don't see myself working with the dude too much longer, because as much as I think he's cool and everything, it's like, dude, like, I know I'm doing some good things. Like this video, he might be like, oh, why are you wasting your time making a video? And it's like, this is my baby, this is my project. I really want to make videos. You see what I mean? So instead of saying, well, say this on the video or try this, you know, like, I'm gonna be told how wrong I'm doing, you know, and that's what we live in. It's like people are so just ready to beat other people up with their words and like make them feel doubt and shit like that. And it's just annoying, bro. It's like fucking annoying. Like, I've been training with weights and dieting for like 20 some fucking years, dude. Like, I'm clearly not a dab, or this isn't like a fucking interest of mine. It's my fucking livelihood, you know? And so anyway, so if you want to focus on progress versus perfection, the key thing to do is measure something. If it's reducing caffeine, for example, how many caffeine moments do you have a day? Do you have 5? Well, let's get it down to 2 to 3, you know, and measure that. If you need more sleep, well then use a whoop strap and go to bed around 10 every night. If you're going to sleep at 11 or 12. Some progress is better than nothing. And that's a big takeaway today. It sounds trivial, I'm telling you, but typically when I see people quit is that they're trying to perfect everything. And that would be the biggest challenge to you, is that observe yourself and see if you're so addicted to this idea of perfection. Because as awesome as this headset is, there's now a better one. I'm not going to buy it because it's just not in my to-do list right now. But as awesome as this headset is, as beautiful as it sounds, maybe it's not perfect. Maybe there needs to be an improvement. But for now, for this video, it's helped me make progress. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Comment below on a time where you were almost caught in your feelings, your insecurities as to how things were not quite the way you ideally anticipated, but you still made progress. But maybe not as much as you wanted, whether it was your diet, maybe you lost some weight and you wanted 30 pounds, but you only lost 25. Maybe in a relationship, you wanted to make a relationship work long-term, but it only lasted 4 or 5 months versus 2 to 3 years or 5 years. Maybe in a spiritual practice, you said, I'm going to meditate every day, but you only meditated 2 months. And now, you know, it's hard for you to pick up that habit again. Maybe on your YouTube videos, you said, I'm gonna make a YouTube channel. You did 1, you got 2 views, and you said, that's not for me. Or maybe you did 10, and you said, that's not for me because they didn't take off. Whatever the situation is, I'd like to hear about it. Subscribe, comment below, share this with someone that maybe being a little too hard on themselves. I am a coach. I'm telling you from experience, this perfection versus progress thing it's real shit. And I hope that me putting on this $400 headset to illustrate that helped make that point. We'll see you next time.